The headlines say Lewis Hamilton escaped a penalty. But if you think the Antonelli incident in FP2 was the real story, you're missing the forest for the carbon fiber. Because behind that moment, behind the radio messages, the FIA ruling, the polite apology, there's a much darker truth. Hamilton didn't just block Antonelli. He revealed something no one inside Ferrari wants to admit out loud. That he's not just struggling with pace, he's struggling with sight, with instinct, with trust in the machine beneath him. And when a 7-time world champion lifts his hand mid-practice and says, "I couldn't see him at all," that's not just a defensive excuse, it's a symptom. And today we're going to unpack what Ferrari won't say in press conferences. Why Lewis Hamilton's Austrian GP is just the tip of an internal iceberg, and why the real penalty may come not from the FIA, but from within Maranello itself. Let's not sugarcoat it. Hamilton impeded Antonelli. The stewards gave him a warning. And in the circus of free practice, that might seem like a footnote, but pause the footage. Zoom in on the context. Hamilton's on a slow lap. Antonelli is on a push. The Ferrari moves right, slowly, deliberately, and Antonelli is forced to take evasive action. Here's the problem. Hamilton didn't trust his mirrors. He didn't trust his car's visibility. And when he raised his hand and said, "I couldn't see Antonelli at all," you could almost hear the subtext, "I don't know what this car is telling me anymore." For a man who built his legacy on feel, on supernatural spatial awareness, that's seismic. Because in Formula One, the second you stop feeling the car, you're not just slow, you're dangerous. This isn't about dirty driving, it's about disconnection. And when you combine that with quotes from FP1 like, "For some reason I've got no pace, mate," you start to realize this isn't a one-off. It's a pattern. A warning, sure, but not from the stewards, from the telemetry, from the stopwatch, from the very foundation of confidence Hamilton built his career on. Ferrari isn't just giving Hamilton a hard car, they're giving him a misaligned philosophy. The SF25 wasn't born for Lewis Hamilton. It was designed around Leclerc's braking profile, ride height preferences, and input logic. And now Hamilton, the most intuitive driver of his generation, is being asked to decode a machine built to speak someone else's language. Let's talk tech. Ferrari's ride height is compromised. The rear suspension is unstable under deceleration. And the Brembo brakes, not what Hamilton's used to after 12 years with carbon industry. You don't just relearn that at 40. You can fight it. You can force adaptation. But trust, that's earned. And right now, every FP1 session, every missed apex, every radio message is a signal. He's not there yet. He doesn't trust this car. The engineers see it. The data shows it. And now in Austria, the world saw it. When a rookie had to swerve to avoid the man many still call the GOAT. But here's the cold reality. In Formula One, there are no sympathy points. No one cares how difficult the car is. You either deliver or the system shifts around someone who does. Leclerc has delivered podiums. Hamilton, not a single Sunday top 3 yet. That's not just a stat. That's political capital bleeding out lap after lap. And in a garage that idolizes performance over personality, when a new floor doesn't fix the feel, when the simulator numbers don't match Hamilton's instincts, there's only one conclusion. Ferrari isn't failing Hamilton. Hamilton is being rejected by Ferrari's DNA. The Antonelli warning will fade from headlines by Monday, but the real warning, the one from within, is just beginning. Lewis Hamilton is running out of track, not because he's slower than Leclerc, but because every time he lifts his hand and says, "I didn't see him," he's telling the world, "I don't see this team's future with me in it." That's what's at stake. Not just points, not just podiums, belief. Because in Formula One, once a driver stops believing in the car stops being built around the driver. And that's how legends fade. Unless, of course, he finds a way to see again. And if he does, that warning might become the spark that reignites everything. Everyone thinks they know why Lewis Hamilton is struggling. The tires, the brakes, the power unit. But they're all wrong. Because the only man who's been in the trenches with Lewis for a decade, the man who turned strategy into science at Mercedes, just dropped a quiet bombshell. James Vowles has finally said what no one at Ferrari will. Lewis hasn't got the specific elements he needs to feel strength from the car. That phrase isn't technical, it's surgical. And it explains why Ferrari hasn't unlocked Lewis Hamilton. Not yet. But it also hints at something more dangerous. When he does get what he needs, Ferrari may become his weapon, not his weakness. Let's start with the truth the headlines ignore. Lewis isn't a plug-and-play driver. He's not adaptable in the generic way pundits love to toss around. He needs connection, not just performance. At Mercedes, the car was built to his frequency. Every balance change, every brake map, every throttle curve was fine-tuned to his micro-feelings. That's why when Vowles says it's about building confidence from specific elements, he's talking about trust at the limits. And right now, the Ferrari SF25 isn't talking to him in the right language. The braking zones feel alien. The torque delivery isn't as predictable. The corner entry behavior shifts just enough to destabilize his flow. He's not driving a bad car. He's driving a car that wasn't born for him. And here's the brutal irony. Charles Leclerc thrives on chaos. He drives through instability. He reacts. Lewis doesn't react. He orchestrates. That's why he struggled. Not because he's slower, but because Ferrari's current feedback loop is not built for his genius. Vowles said something else, and it's subtle, but massive. When he's confident, he and Charles are this close. That wasn't just a compliment, that was a warning. Because here's what the stats won't show you yet. In Miami, Hamilton pushed Leclerc hard. In China, sprint win. Every time the SF25 behaves predictably for a few stints, Hamilton is right there. This isn't a decline story, it's a latency story. Lewis is processing a new operating system, one that fights his instincts. And when you've spent 12 years with Mercedes muscle memory baked into your subconscious, every 10th takes longer to reclaim. Let's be real. Carlos Sainz adapted to Ferrari, yes, but not while carrying the weight of 7 world championships. Not while recalibrating 12 seasons of deeply ingrained sensory memory. Not while being expected to lead Ferrari out of decades of dysfunction on day one. That's why Vowles' statement matters. It's all possible. It's all adaptation. Coming from the man who saw Hamilton build dynasties, this isn't a eulogy, it's a forecast. And it tells you something Ferrari hasn't admitted yet. They didn't just sign a legend. They signed someone who can redefine what their car needs to be. Let the doubters laugh. Let the media dissect every race where Charles finishes higher. They don't get it. Because here's the truth Vowles knows, and that Ferrari is slowly realizing. You don't win with Hamilton by making him adapt to your car. You win by letting him reshape the car into something only he can drive. And when that shift happens, Ferrari doesn't just have a champion, they have a kingmaker. This isn't just about finding pace. This is about unlocking belief in a system that was never built for Lewis, but may soon become the most dangerous thing on the grid because of him. And that's the kind of transformation that wins titles. Not in 2025, but in 2026, and when the entire sport resets, and Ferrari has a car written in Hamilton's signature. Watch the space between now and then, because every lap where he gets closer, it's not about recovery, it's about the rise before the storm.